Hello, my name is Cami Wynn, and this is for the week 5 lesson plan for irregular words sound out strategy. This one is for 2nd grade, but can be anywhere between kindergarten through 2nd grade. This is just the standard that I found to relate it to this lesson. So let's get started here. There are a few things that you'll need to have for this lesson. Some word cards, magnetic letters, a magnetic board, dry erase board and markers, and some decodable text for kids. This lesson should take about 15 minutes, and it's whole group, small group, and individual group as well. Alright, so we'll do the introducing of irregular words first, and then we will work through the rest. So first, you need to explain that irregular words are tricky. They cannot be sounded out in a regular way. So the way that we've been learning is not quite going to work anymore. So here I have a card. It's backwards for you, but it's the word of. So this is a tricky word. The word is of. And what is this word? And they should say of as I sweep across like this. Alright, now I'm going to sound out this word. Okay? Of. That's how we sound out this word. But this is the way we say it. Of. How do we actually say this word? And then they would say of. So, just a second. Okay, now it's your turn to say this word to the regular way by saying the sounds for the letter. So, I'm going to point to each letter. And then I want you to point to your ear. And we're going to do this. So, what you're going to do is you're going to say the word of. But you're going to do of. It's the word you hear. Okay? So let's do it. Very good. So students would just keep saying of to me because of the way that it's pronounced. And then you have to ask, but how does it actually sound? And you would say of, not of or off, the way that it sounds. When they look at the word, they might say off. That's probably a very common one. And then you would follow this procedure with the other words that are to, do, was, and said. There's a lot more that you could do as well, but these are just the first beginning ones that our book recommended. Okay, so now we're going to do practicing irregular words. So this is the we do part of the lesson. Each student gets a magnetic board, just a CD case. So the kids get that, and they get magnetic letters to go with it. And so I'm going to display this card in front of me for them to see. And then I'm going to have them spell the word with the magnetic letters. So students would start putting the magnetic letters on there. And then I would have them touch each letter as they said it aloud. So it'd be And finally, I would have them spell it, which would be the OF. And then you would do this and repeat it to help them break it apart and build it back up over and over again for each of the 5 words that I just said, which was of, do, to, said, and was. So we're going to do a word reading practice for automaticity. This is where you make word recognition grid and have 5 horizontal rows that contain the words that we've been working on in different orders. Now, students are going to put away their magnetic board, and they're going to get a whiteboard out with markers. And then what I'm going to do is I'll tell students that they are going to practice reading the words that they have already learned. So here I kind of made a half grid. It's a 5-row horizontal. It just shows the different words that was in this lesson plan. Alright, so then what I would do is I would point to the first word, which is of, backwards for you, and I would ask them, well, first I would tell them that this word is of. What is this word? And they would say of. And then so we would go through each one that we have learned and have not learned, and that way it would be another way for them to learn their letters and their sounds for irregular words. Another thing that you can do is apply decodable text. This is where you would take books or photocopy pieces of paper from books, so pages of books, sorry, and you provide students with these materials, and they would have to decode some of the words in it from what they had learned from the lesson. This goes along with some of my other things, but for correcting the errors of the irregular words in the beginning, for introducing the words. If a student responds incorrectly, you need to stop immediately and model the correct response for the errors. So, for example, I picked the word is this time. It's not quite the right one, but for errors such as saying is for is, what you need to do is you need to point to your ear and say we actually say is. And point to your ear again and say, how do we actually say it? And they would say is, like I-Z instead of I-S. So it would be is instead of is. For instructional considerations, for my special education students, I would have them do a game that I made up called Shells and Crabs. In this game, students would draw out shells with the irregular words already put on them, very similar to this card. If they say the correct word, they get to keep the shell, and they would continue going. This can be a partner game if needed. They can keep going and draw out until they draw out a crab. And when they draw out the crab, it's the next child's turn. So you could draw out shells that have like was, to, do, and then you get a crab. Well, then it's the other student's turn to start their turn. And it can happen the next one right after the first one, or it could go continuously. You can add or subtract as many shells and crabs as you want to kind of see what results you want to see. For ELL students, I would copy a few pages in the book, and I would give them a highlighter. And what I would do is I would have them highlight in like a pink or orange highlighter irregular words that we've learned, so like words in the book that they have read. So it's a book they're familiar with, and so you would underline the words of, to, do, said, words like that that they could pick out. And it also helps them visually because of the highlighter color. For talented and gifted students, I would have them begin to form simple sentences with the magnetic boards that we had, along with cards. So I would have them start to put very simple sentences together with the irregular words in them. So that's what I would try and do. And this, obviously, if they need a little bit of help with it, they can have help. But I feel like by second grade, they should write somewhat of some simple sentences, so they may be able to have a grasp on this as well. So thank you for letting me do this lesson with you, and I look forward to your feedback. Thank you.